Okay, got a couple more people here. Is that everybody? All right, good deal. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us for today's A Month of Service presentation of identity theft. My name is Nia Murray. I'm Programs Coordinator with Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation, and we are one of the partners in the A Month of Service collaboration. Also in the partnership is the City of Houston's Department of Neighborhoods, and joining us today is Ms. Myra Hippolyte. And also our presenting partner with Houston Bar Association is representing here Ms. Erica Ramirez, who is with the Harris County District Attorney's Office, who's going to be giving our presentation today on identity theft. Included in the collaboration is also Lone Star Legal Aid, the Earl Carl Institute, Houston Volunteer Lawyers, Harris County Appraisal District, and Harris County Tax Assessor Collector's Office. And collectively, we make up the A Month of Service collaboration. And basically what A Month of Service is these 8 different organizations that get together on a monthly basis that offer a variety of workshops related to community empowerment, asset building, asset protection, and maintaining generational wealth. So we know that there are a lot of folks in a lot of different communities that don't have access or don't know about certain resources that are available, that don't know about certain information. So since we all pretty much represent and service the same community and have the same mission and same goals in mind, then we thought what better way to create a larger impact than to come together and collaborate and offer these resources and workshops collectively on a monthly basis. So we used to do these sessions in person, but of course we know due to COVID, we've had to adapt and adjust and go to the virtual format. So eventually we may be getting back out there, but we're going to continue to maybe offer hybrid, continue to offer the Zoom programs because we found that we, over the last couple of years, have reached an extremely large audience throughout the entire state of Texas. And because of that, Houston Bar Association has now also started to offer our legal workshops that we have. Course, what do you call it? Continuing legal education credits for attorneys that actually join the A Month of Service workshop. So for those that see a course number outside, then next to the title, then attorneys do have the opportunity to receive those credits. We know how expensive getting those legal education credits can be. So here's an opportunity for you to get that at no charge. So, but again, we wanted to make sure that we provided a variety of different information and resources to the community, including identity theft. Over the last couple of years, I'm not even gonna say a couple of years, it's always an ongoing issue. But unfortunately, after every catastrophe, after every hurricane, after every kind of a disaster, the crimes trying to get a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse. And identity theft has continued to always be an issue. But lots of folks, especially our seniors, are so susceptible and so vulnerable to becoming victims of identity theft. And we just want people to know, want the community to know, what steps can be taken to protect yourself, how to identify if you've been a victim of identity theft, what measures you can take, what can be done, and so on and so forth. So we have the expert that's going to be here today to provide you with that information. Myra and I are here to learn and find out just as much information as you guys. So if there's other workshops or presentations that A Month of Service do not currently offer, then please reach out to Myra or myself and please let us know so we'll know what vital information that you guys need to receive, and we'll see what we can do about getting it to you. So I want to have Myra to go ahead and introduce herself, and we will have our presenter, Ms. Ramirez, introduce herself, and we will move right on into our presentation. So Myra, let me say this also. This session is being recorded for us to distribute to all of the participants that did register for today, as well as being broadcast on our social media platform live on Facebook. Ask that you follow us on Amos Houston TX, throw that little plug in there. But we ask that you guys be as interactive as you'd like to be, ask whatever questions you like. However, because we are being recorded, because we are live, we are trying to protect your privacy as much as we possibly can. So to try to keep your questions to be as general as you can without giving any personal detail information out there for everybody to have access to. After all, we are talking about identity theft here, so we want to make sure that we put that disclaimer out there to protect yourselves as much as possible. So in addition to that, information that is provided here today is for educational purposes only. It is not legal advice. If you do find yourself in need for any civil legal matters, then please, we do encourage you to reach out to our legal service partners, Lone Star Legal Aid, Harris County, the Earl Carl Institute, Houston Volunteer Lawyers, and the Houston Bar Association for any type of civil legal services that you may need. So without further ado, Ms. Myra Hippolyte with the City of Houston Department of Neighborhoods. Go ahead.
Thanks, Ms. Nia. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Myra Hippolyte, and I work with the City of Houston Department of Neighborhoods under the direction of Director Takasha Francis. On behalf of Mayor Sylvester Turner and Director Takasha Francis, we want to welcome you to the Month of Service program. This partnership is all about giving back to the Houston, Harris County, state of Texas, and we've even come to find out that other states and other countries have been attending a lot of our virtual workshops. But it's all about giving back free information. When you're going through a stressor, and then, you know, Nia said this the other day, it doesn't have to be a stressor that you're going through. It can be just, if you want information, you know, this is good information to always know. Sometimes in our lives, you know, we just went through COVID-19, or we're still going through COVID-19, Winter Storm Uri, we've gone through Hurricane Harvey, we have a lot of thefts, break-ins, different things that happen in our lives that we go like, okay, wait a minute, you know, what is it that I need to do? What's step 1, 2, 3, 4? You know, many of us, like me, I go like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? And forget there's a step 1, 2, 3, 4 for everything. And that's what it's all about. We're here to give you information. We're walking right by your side. And of course, you know, I always say this, we're not going to hold your hand. But the way that we're walking right by your side is by giving you free information. Guys, thank you so much. Enjoy this program today and have a blessed and safe day. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Ramirez.
All right, Ms. Erica.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited to be here. I hope everyone made it safe with the crazy morning storm this morning. I know the hail was insane, but I'm glad to say I'm at work and able to help you guys out. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And if you guys have questions, do let me know. But like she said, please be careful of your, I guess, information if you don't want to share anything. Can everyone see that? Okay. So my name's Erica Ramirez, and I'm a prosecutor at the Harris County District Attorney's Office. I am assigned to our Financial Crimes Division, and I've been here for a little over 2 years. And I think if you're like me, when it comes to financial crimes, you may think about what you see in the 5 o'clock news. You see someone that, you know, is part of Anonymous that is hacking into our computers, and perhaps a data breach with Facebook or Yahoo. But the reality is it's not quite like that. Every day in Harris County, we face kind of different types of identity theft information. Most local cases aren't in the news. We're talking about credit card abuse, bank fraud, loan fraud, government documents fraud. This is the type of stuff that affects us every day. And I'm so sad to say that it is likely that almost everyone on here has been a victim of identity theft. I know I have. I've had a random credit card charge in a small town in northern Texas. I've never been there, but it was used up there. So the reality is of identity theft, I kind of want to talk about today is the personal impact of what it is, the common types of identity theft that we're seeing here in Harris County, different methods that these suspects used to commit identity theft, and the methods that you can use to avoid becoming a victim. We really want to help you guys out here.
Erica, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yes.
There's like a static or like a fuzzy kind of noise or something. I'm not sure if it's like a regular mic that you're using, if you're too close or.
Okay, let me try. 1 second. Let me try to raise it. Is that helping out?
Go
How's
ahead,
that?
say something else.
How's that? Is that sounding better?
No, not really.
No, it's sounding staticky. Let me turn off. I have a heater under my desk.
Oh, I wonder if that's giving you background noise.
How about that? Is that helping out at all?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't know. I could try shutting down again and
It's a little bit better. It's a little
Okay.
bit better. So
let me
go
try
ahead.
to let me try to speak a little bit clearer. And again, please feel free to
Okay.
interrupt me if you guys need help. So let me go back to here. Let me share my screen again. You would think in a COVID world that we would all know how to do all of this real quick.
It's still shared. It's still there.
Oh, it's still shared. Okay.
Mhm.
For some reason, I'm not seeing it.
It's just not in presentation mode, but it's still there.
Let me go ahead and make it.
We were just having this discussion earlier about Zoom and learning, all the little tricks of trade. So, okay, there you go.
There it goes. So we want to talk about the personal impacts of identity theft. Like I said, we've all been victims. So the personal impacts is the initial loss of money. As I said, with my example, when someone has a credit card charge that they didn't authorize, say, for example, my credit card charge that was in Northern Texas at a small gas station, I face the initial loss of money, but most often times it is recuperated because the bank will refund it when it's a fraudulent charge. Now, when we start getting into problems that is just beyond the amount of money lost, that's when we're talking about people opening credit or getting loans in your account. For example, if someone gets your social security number and has your name, and they're able to open up a credit account, say at a furniture store, big ticket items, they then get those items with your name, and then you are on the hook for the money. I've had many cases where folks get calls saying you owe $30,000 for this furniture or for this car that they didn't pay for. So then you have to go through really the stress of closing these accounts, resetting your passwords, reporting it to the credit bureau, reporting it to the police, getting a copy of that police report and giving it to the creditors. It's really something that I feel terrible for my victims for. I have a woman who called me last week who has 4 little children, who had her information stolen by someone who was supposed to help her with a business loan, and who is still facing people using her identity to open apartments, to open businesses. And it's something that she's constantly struggling with. And I can hear it in her voice when I talk to her. It's just very stressful. And especially if you're going through something, for example, you're trying to close on a house, that could impact your life. It could hinder your ability to get a job. It could hinder your ability to, with the IRS, if someone tries to get a civil lawsuit against you, try to get money that you technically didn't spend, it's just headaches and money out of your pocket. So we want to try to avoid that. This is kind of the bread and butter of what I do as a criminal prosecutor. This is one of the statutes that we are able to use to prosecute people that commit identity theft, and this is fraudulent use or possession of identifying information. Now, a person commits this offense if they, with the intent to harm, obtain or possess or transfer or use an item of identifying information of another person without that person's consent. So it's kind of a handful. So let me kind of break that down for you guys. When we're talking about identifying information, this is what I'm talking about. So if someone has your name and date of birth without your consent, that is considered a piece of identifying information. It has to be those two combined. Or unique biometric data. An example of that would be like a fingerprint or an iris scan, which is not really something that most people, you and I, would face on a day-to-day basic data. So on the second one, we've got unique electronic identifying number. That's going to be like your PIN number, your finance credit card number, your bank number. For D, it's a telecommunication identifying information. We don't really use that much in this office, but we think it's mostly like you have a key card to scan into somewhere, that's going to be under D. But again, we don't really use that. And E, we use a lot. social security number or other government issued identification numbers. That's going to be your driver's license number, your social security number, your Texas ID number, whatever government issued number that you have. So when we talk about these items, kind of want to go back to this. It really goes to the amount of items someone has with how high a charge the person gets. So even though there may be 4 victims, a suspect may have several items for each victim and thus be able to be charged with a felony. So for example, if a woman is pulled over on a traffic stop for speeding and she hands the officer a fraudulent ID that has Jane Smith's name, date of birth, and Texas driver's license number, but it has the driver's photo. The officer goes ahead and pulls it up in his system, finds out that that's a fraudulent ID. Not only has she committed the crime of tampering with the government record, which we'll talk about, she also has the name and date of birth, as well as the government issued ID for that person. Now, we talked about the intent to defraud, and if someone has 3 or more of the items, there's a presumption of intent to defraud. So in this particular case, an officer would have to call to verify with that person, does this woman have your consent to have your information? And when it is no, then we know that this is with the intent to defraud. So let's say, for example, that this person is arrested, and then in their bag, an officer finds 10 credit cards, all different numbers belonging to all different people, 10 IDs belonging to all different people. Those are going to include several items, including name and date of birth, and we're likely going to get a second degree or first degree felony. Again, with the intent to defraud, we know that there's a presumption if they have 3 or more items. If it's 3 or less, we usually want to call to verify that the person did not have permission to use those identifying informations. Some of the other stuff that we work with, I mentioned with the tampering with the government record, that's going to be your official documents, your birth certificates, your driver's license, your state IDs. We also work a lot with theft and money laundering, engaging in organized criminal activity, and credit card abuse is also a big one. That's when someone uses a credit card without authorization. Just as when I had someone fraudulently use my credit card number in Northern Texas, even though I had my physical card, they were able to use my number. If they were able to be caught, they could be charged with credit card abuse. One example of theft that I kind of want to talk about is corresponds with using of stolen checks. And it kind of relates to engaging in organized crime. And I'll give you guys an example. Say someone has their car broken into and a checkbook is stolen. The person who steals the checkbook makes forged checks to themselves, or they can make it to their friends. They can tell their friends, I'm going to make a check to you, you cash it, keep some of the money, and then give me the rest. That's when we have an organization of 3 or more and can charge them with organized crime because they know what's going on. They know these funds are stolen and they're accepting it. So I kind of want to talk about the methods of identity theft. And the first kind of section that I thought about explaining it is the physical actions that can relate or that can result in identity theft. The first one is going to be, as I mentioned, with breaking into cars and the homes. I have so many cases where folks go to Memorial Park or they go to a park just to go run or to get their walk in for the day, and their car gets broken into and they have their purse or their wallet stolen. People don't realize how many important documents are in these purses, these bags, these wallets. If houses are broken into, a more sophisticated burglar can know to take passports, documents, perhaps mail that it has credit cards. These are the physical ways that folks can get your identity. If they don't know that they can, how to use the information themselves, they can sell it to a fence. That's going to be the person who then sells it to the other person. A lot of the BMVs, the burglar and motor vehicles we have are just for the sole purpose of looking for identifying information. So that's something you definitely need to be aware of. I'm going to give you guys an example. This suspect that we had here, she participated in vehicle burglaries in Clear Lake. Now that was specifically what they did. They were looking for identifying information, again, with the purses and the wallets, credit cards, social security cards, driver's license. She would then use that information. Let's say, for example, she stole Jane Doe's driver's license. She would use Jane Doe's driver's license number, her name and date of birth, and then create a fake ID with her photo on it. So then she would go use that to cash forged checks. Luckily, she was actually caught while trying to break into another vehicle, and she was given 5 years in prison. So don't think that breaking into your car is just something, that they're trying to get the change, and that may be the case, but a lot of times they have different motives. Another physical action that we've seen in our cases are when people and businesses will discard documents that are not properly shredded into their dumpsters. I know we all get a little bit lazy sometimes. We dump it in the trash thinking it'll be fine. And it is not illegal to dumpster dive. Absolutely not. It's trash, it's discarded. But unfortunately, a lot of folks leave important documents. And if the folks going into the dumpster know what they're looking for, then they may find information that can be used. So again, it's not illegal to go into the dumpster, but it is illegal to use the information that you found in there in a fraudulent manner. Another physical action that we do unfortunately see a lot of is employee theft. There's lots of businesses that work with financial information and personal information from customers. I want to give you an example of when I call my doctor's office after a visit and I'm going to pay the bill. I'm giving my credit card information, my name, and my date of birth. Now that employee has that information, and there are some employees that exploit that, and they take that and then use it for fraudulent purposes. I also want to give another example of a case I have. There was a woman who was trying to settle the accounts for her elderly mother who had outstanding tolls for the Beltway. So she had called several times to be able to pay it off. The first time she called, gave the credit card number. The second time she called, gave the credit card number. And then the third time she called and gave the credit card number and the code on the back. You guys are familiar with the 3-digit code that businesses sometimes require. But she thought it was weird. Why didn't they request it the first time? So it was very shortly after that she started to notice fraudulent charges on her mother's account. So luckily in this case, we were able to see that whoever made the purchases made it to Target and actually had it delivered to her house. Officers went to go talk to her and she admitted to doing it. So that was a little bit of an easier case that we were able to track her down, because sometimes it has to get very complex of searching bank accounts and IP addresses, but that is an instance of an employee taking advantage of the information that they have. There's some other examples of employee theft. We have an HR clerk that worked for a local insurance company. She used the pension information for the customers that called her to open accounts and to buy electronics for herself. There was a medical payment, as I mentioned before, at a local hospital that sold patient data and opened up accounts with jewelry store accounts across the state. Again, in that case, she made the mistake of sending the jewelry to her house. That's how we found her. And another one we had, which worries me, I guess personally, because you think that you can trust the bank, but there was a bank employee who stole identities of customers to take out loans in their name and then transfer them to their account. So not to worry everyone that you can't trust anywhere, but it's just a reality that people are humans humans work everywhere. There's bad apples everywhere. So just be aware of it. Don't assume that any of your accounts or your bank accounts or your medical accounts are going to be safe. Just keep an eye on them. There is one guy that we had who was working with physical actions. He actually worked for an RV company on and off. When he left with a bunch of customer names and account information. He was able to use that to take out loans. He used those loans to travel by limo service, stayed in hotels and resorts. He would buy drugs and unfortunately pick up younger girls with drug problems, and that included girls from high school. Now, I do see in a lot of these cases, and it's not always the case, so please keep that in mind. But a lot of my identity theft cases go along with a lot of drug addiction. A lot of time it's with meth use. So a lot of times people that are addicted will hang out with other folks that are addicted, and they kind of learn how to commit this identity theft to fuel their drug usage. And again, that's not always the case. I have several cases where there's no drug use suspected, but I do notice that on a lot of these. Luckily, this guy was caught and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Another big one that we see, and this is definitely something that is on the rise in Houston, is mail theft. I know you have likely, just like I have, lived in an apartment at some point in your life or live in an area that has a common mailbox. Those are very high targets for mail theft. We have cases where mail carriers are actually held at gunpoint to steal their arrow key. The arrow key is the key that they use to open up all the community mailboxes. It's like a master key because they know that that's the big paycheck, right? To get all of these pieces of mail on one event. A lot of times, think about what you receive in the mail. Sometimes you get a refund check. Sometimes you're getting your new credit card that had just expired. You're getting applications for loans. You're getting your W-2. Think about everything that comes in there and all of the identifying information that you have. So that is one thing that you need to be very aware of, mail theft. Also, if you've noticed at the post office, that big blue box, normally you feel safe kind of just dropping your bill in there. I highly suggest not to do that because that mailbox has also been the target of thieves. They're going into there and stealing in there. So please keep in mind of all the information that comes to the mail. It's highly coveted by mail thieves. We have a suspect here who was actually the ringleader of a mail thieves. They stole checks, unfortunately. They'd make a fake temporary driver's license to be able to cash the checks. She set up accounts and she bought a ton of furniture, electronics, with all information found in the mail. So keep in mind that a lot of these are not, a lot of these mail thefts coincide with other offenses. For example, tampering with a government record. They're going to go ahead and make fake IDs with your identifying information, and that's how they're able to get money from it. This suspect likely was caught and got 10 years in prison.
Excuse me, Ms. Ramirez, could you speak a little bit louder now?
Sure, of course. Is that helping? Yes, of course. Here, let me move my computer a little bit closer too. So keep in mind that this isn't always strangers that do this. Unfortunately, we're dealing with folks that sometimes commit this crime when their family members or friends and spam them. Is there a little feedback? Can you guys hear me okay?
We hear you fine. Just a little feedback, but not that much.
And that they'll use it to take out loans or credit cards. Now, this is really sad. Again, sometimes goes with addiction, but not always. I have a couple examples. There was a victim's deceased spouse whose identity was stolen by a friend's grandson who wrote checks to himself. And another sad one was an estranged daughter who was supposedly coming to take care of her mother at the hospital, but instead used her ID to get a bunch of loans out. So please keep in mind, it's not always stranger danger. This is also going to be something that friends and family members can commit as well. And I actually have another case where an adult daughter told me that her mom had gotten several loans in her name. Unfortunately, because of that, she needed a car and she's unable to do that at this point because of her credit. So the next method of identity theft that I want to talk about is deception. This is a really big one. And I think I have to say that I'm guilty of this as well. Thinking, oh, I can't be tricked. I know I can kind of spot a fake email or a fake text. And the fact is that even I've been duped about this. So please, it's every age, every level of people, we need to know that we can be duped. We're just human, we make errors. So the first one we talk about is phishing. And those are emails that look like they're coming from somewhere that we know of. And they're asking for identifying information. I'm going to shoot to the next slide to show you. This is actually an email that I received this week, supposedly from CVS. The CVS is a store that I go to. I get my medicines. I can go ahead and give them my phone number. So this is not uncommon for me to say, okay, this looks like perhaps it's legit. You can tell this one's a little bit easier because of the address that is sent from, XMBRYLBL. That's not a legitimate place. So in my instance, I kind of got excited for a second, but then saw the email address. Another way to determine if it is legitimate is to hover your mouse over it and you can see the source that it came from. We've seen a lot of scams, prize giveaway, romance scams, fake messages pretending to be credit card companies, not only emails, but texts as well. I've received a text message saying, your credit card has been charged $2,000. If this is not you, click here and log in. And for a second, I almost logged in. If you do get this, please open up a new window on your computer, open up a new browser, log in separately. Do not click any links because you will likely be, you will give your information and all of your stuff will be stolen. So please be careful. In that particular instance, when I got the text, I called the company themselves and they said that was fraudulent and to ignore it. So please be careful. I also want to give an example that happened to my own dad, not only through email, but he actually got a letter in the mail from someone who said, I know a secret about you. And if you do not give me $30,000 Bitcoin, then you and your wife will know and your whole neighborhood will know. And for a second, I love my dad, but for a second, I think he freaked out. My mom saw it, got very angry. She had no idea what was going on. And little did they know they were being scammed. My parents are older, so they got it through the mail. I've heard of folks getting texts like this. I've heard of folks getting emails like this. That is something people to deceive you. So luckily he reported it to the police and nothing happened. Another method of identity theft that we see is a business email compromise scam. This is something where you're working with a business. Let's say, for example, you work regularly with T-Mobile and you regularly are sending them money through a wire account. These instances, a scammer will send you an email with wiring information that looks like it's from their company, T-Mobile, but it's really not. For example, there's only one letter that's missing. So instead of it being from T-Mobile, it'll be from B-Mobile. But we're going kind of with our busy schedules and our crazy hectic lives, we just ignore it and we go ahead and send it. And then T-Mobile calls us and says, wait, where's our money? A lot of times, unfortunately, this money is lost. If it's sent overseas, we have difficulty really getting it back. So this is a business email compromise that I think a lot of small companies and really even big companies deal with. I have a colleague who has a case where they sent over millions of dollars for a plane. And it was sent, and that was a business email compromise. So they've lost millions of dollars, which is now on a different continent. So please be aware, double check, triple check that it is from the company that you're expecting to pay. Another method of identity theft is really the online searches. Sometimes there are areas that are accidentally exposed. I'll give you an example. There was a clerk's office here in Texas that when a person was arrested, they would upload their bonding paperwork. And on the bonding paperwork, they had the suspect who was arrested had indicated their name, date of birth, social security number. Those were negligently uploaded. And unfortunately, criminals kind of realized that and started ripping off these folks that were arrested. That was a negligent example, but there are other times that people don't realize that their identifying information is online. I think we kind of go back to what we see on the news. We talk about the dark web. So as you see here on the kind of the iceberg, the little part that you and I know when we're going to Google or we're going to Amazon or we're paying our bills, that's the World Wide Web. That's only about 4% of the content on the whole internet. It's really when we're getting into the deep web and the dark web, which is areas that you need special software to use, that's where they're selling your information. And I'll tell you a little bit about that, how they get your information in a bit. But the reality is that it's pretty easy if you have that software to buy and sell it. And the software makes it more anonymous. Now, we have been able to track down some folks on there, but it's very difficult and time consuming. So this is what we talked about on the dark web. People that buy and sell your information, everything has a cost. I may be able to get your name, address, date of birth for a certain amount, or your passport number for a certain amount. It kind of depends on what's hot at that time, but everything has a cost, including your email. I promise at one point our emails have been on there. Here's someone that used the World Wide Web to scam people. She obtained identities through that way. And one way she was able to do that is actually going to hotel lobbies where they have the computer and folks had left their stuff still logged in. So she was able to get into their emails. And once you get into someone's email account, that's really, it's a changer. It's a game changer. Because think about all of the logins you have. For example, you're logging into your insurance account. If you forgot the password, you always click forget password and it'll send your email. If this person has control of your email, they can have control of everything. It's really important that you change your passwords and use different passwords for everything. Please be careful with logging into hotel lobby computers. Please try to avoid it if you can. This one is a big method of identity theft, skimming and LUN. I'm going to talk about the skimming method first. If you have a car, if you live in Harris County, which you probably have to have at some point, you've been to a gas station and have been in a rush and paid with your credit card. Skimmers are often put inside of the gas pump to be able to take your credit card. So skimmer is a device that attaches to a device that's meant to accept payment by credit card. Okay, so the skimmer will collect the information, and then that information can be used to purchase items or it can be sold on the dark web, which we've talked about. This is kind of how the skimmer works. So as you see in picture one, that's the gas pump that can literally either be popped open or opened with a key in a matter of seconds. You'll see in picture two, they attach a skimmer to it. That skimmer is what collects your credit card number or your debit card number, as well as the PIN number or the zip code that you have put in. And if you see number three, we think we're all smart and educated that, oh, well, if the sticker's still there, then we should be fine. And that's really not the case. These folks have gotten very sophisticated and purchase their own stickers, so they will go ahead and close it afterwards. And now with Picture 4, we've gotten to the point where folks don't even have to come back to the skimmer to open it back up to get their information. They can actually drive by and with the Bluetooth on their telephone, get your credit card and your PIN number information. It's really kind of scary. With this instances, I always try to go to newer gas stations. Buc-ee's has some of the best technology. Not only does Buc-ee's have the best bathrooms and the best food, but Buc-ee's has some of the best technology to be able to stop this type of crime. So here is something that we see a lot with our skimmers. So when someone steals your credit card number, say for example with the gas pump, they often have that re-encoded on a card. You can see this picture here, that long device there on the right, that is a credit card re-encoder. So they can go ahead and connect the electronic information, swipe a blank gift card, and it'll put your credit card information on that magnetic stripe. So it looks like someone's perhaps carrying a bunch of gift cards. In reality, it has stolen credit card information. One thing that we really do see is when we see a lot of these gift cards, they will mark in Sharpie either the 5-digit zip code or the 4-digit PIN. So when we have folks that are arrested with a bunch of gift cards with the Sharpie written on them, we know that those are usually re-encoded cards, so we need to check them. Oftentimes, if they've gotten more sophisticated, they've bought an embosser. So they'll use a blank card and emboss a name on it. So it actually looks like a legitimate credit card. But a lot of times they use blank gift cards or gift cards to Red Lobster or anything else. Another skimming method, unfortunately, is with ATMs. It used to be back in the day that you could tell there was a skimmer placed on top of the ATM by pulling it, as you see in the second photo there. Unfortunately, nowadays, that's not a surefire way to tell if there's a skimmer attached. As far as I know, there really isn't a way to be able to be sure, but it is something. We do have several cases with skimmers being placed in ATMs. I do know that certain banks have ATMs inside. Those are probably going to be your safer methods. I do know that sometimes we have no options, so just be aware you do use an ATM to keep an eye on your account. This one is the Lund method. And I have to tell you, I'm not a math major, so I don't understand it myself, but there is an algorithm that these folks use in order to guess your credit card number. This is insane when I learned it. So if you have a credit card, which most of us do, the first 6 digits identify which banking institution it comes from. So for example, here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 may come from Wells Fargo. A different number may come from Woodforest National Bank. The second set of numbers is actually going to be your account number. And the last one is going to be what they call a checksum. So I'm going to show y'all, this is an example of someone that was arrested using the Lund method. You'll see there at the top, there's 12 digits that were actually 12 parts of their valid credit card number. And this person went through column by column to identify potential variations of the first 4 digits to satisfy the algorithm. And again, I couldn't tell you how to do this. I don't know how. I just know it's done. It takes a lot of work, but it's done frequently. Here we have a suspect that used the Lund method. And in order to kind of determine which account, which numbers were valid, you see there's multiple columns. She would call and make small purchases over the phone in order to test them. So if she found one that worked, then she would re-encode that number on a gift card and use it over and over again. They were able to get a search warrant and found over 150 valid card numbers. That's a huge amount. That's at least 150 victims. It's incredible. So she was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years. So here's the fun part, I guess. We all want to avoid being talked about on here, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do to protect ourselves. First thing, that with a lot of my cases, don't keep valuables in your car. Okay, that's really important. Again, I've had multiple cases where folks go to the park to go get a run in and they leave something in there. Don't carry all of your debit cards, social security cards, identifying information together. I used to carry my social security card around when I was younger, I think just out of habit, but then I realized if I lost that, it's a huge thing to be lost and for someone to have. So please, if you can, leave that at home, leave it somewhere safe. Please be aware about mail theft in common areas. Don't drop off a check at the big blue box in front of the post office. Please drop it off inside. If you are sending a check to somebody, please let them know that it's on the way, and let them tell you, please let me know when it arrives. I've had folks that have sent checks to their daughters who were in college and they never got it. I've had folks who were expecting checks, refunds, and never got it. So just be really careful with that. One thing, side note, it's not with identity theft, but talking about keeping valuables in your car, we've had a lot of break-ins vehicles involving guns in Harris County. That is really on the rise. So that's just a side note. Please don't keep the guns locked in your car, because there are perpetrators that are breaking in specifically to get that. Just a side note. Okay, another way to avoid becoming a victim, avoiding deception. And I know you have heard it. I've heard it multiple times. It's not fun to hear, but regularly change your password. We've got passwords for everything: the grocery store app, the insurance, the Centerpoint, everything we've got. You've got to regularly change your password. Some of these phones have apps where you can save your password. One colleague of mine suggested the OnePass app to be able to save everything there securely on your phone. When it comes to emails, please, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Beware of emails that appear to come from a business. You can hover over the link to make sure, see who sent it. But again, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. Online protection. This one was a very important one, probably out of all of this, I think the most important one, because we don't know if our credit has been compromised until we get a letter. So one of my colleagues, who is one of the best in our office, suggested freezing your credit. Now, there are several places you can go to do that: TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. What he did is he froze his credit, and you can do this all for free. You log into all of these. They may try to sell you a service. Just deny all those, get the free service, the login, and you can freeze your credit. If you're not expecting to do any big purchases where they're going to run your credit, then it can be frozen. There's no problem. He does that, and then he will unfreeze it if he has to make a big purchase. For example, when he purchased a car, he asked the company, which company are you going to be using? TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. They let him know it was Equifax, and he unfroze Equifax for that day. That way, the credit check could go through, and it was no problem. And the day after, he froze it back again. Now, this is kind of a more extreme level, but I think it's a very safe level that you can do, especially since it's a free service. If you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and regularly run your credit report. I use, or I've heard of being used, TrueIdentity.com is a way to run your credit every month, and they can let you know if there's any suspicious activity. It's important to, folks can use your ID info to do just about anything. I've seen purchases of cars. I've seen renting mansions. I can't believe actually renting mansions, renting apartments, buying tractor equipment, all of these things, buying cell phones, that's a big one, buying cell phones and self-service. So it's important to make sure that your information is not being used. One thing we do suggest is if you're logging into a public Wi-Fi, please avoid logging into any financial accounts. Now, I think we're all guilty of going to a coffee shop. If you're taking your laptop, trying to get some work done and logging in and, oh, I have to check my bank account, logging in real quick. If it's a public Wi-Fi, your information is technically possibly available. So please be careful. Another step that you can take is using the two-step authentication or an authenticator app. I technically use a two-step authentication. So that means if I'm logging in, say, for example, my insurance, I'm logging in right now, and then they'll say, we've sent a code to your phone or your email, please put that code. That's a two-step authentication process. It is more cumbersome, especially if we're in a rush, but it is give you that extra level of security. The Authenticator app, which my friend uses, my colleague, the one who suggested freezing your credit, does the same thing, but it's an app on your telephone. Please keep in mind, again, it's important with your emails, you've got to change your passwords regularly. Your email is very, very important. Just think about, for example, if you have my friend has the Authenticator app. If someone tries to log into his Facebook, say on my computer, he'll get a notification on his Authenticator app that someone's trying to use it, and I won't be able to do it. So please keep in mind, email is super important. With skimming, you'll want to avoid the older gas stations, or if you do go to the older gas stations, that's no problem. Go inside and prepay with the clerk. That's definitely a safer way to avoid the skimmer at the pump. We have seen a lot of increases in technology. As you see with that little credit card, there's a little chip there, and there are places that you can pay by just tapping on the device as opposed to swiping it. That is also a way to keep safe, or to keep more safe than it would be than to swipe it. Just be aware of ATMs. I think they're unavoidable when we're in a bind, but just be aware it's usually a little bit safer to try to go use the ATM inside the bank if possible. I think that's it. I wanted to thank you guys for your time. If you had any questions, I'd be very happy to answer.
I didn't see any questions on the chat.
Okay.
If someone would like to unmute themselves and ask some questions, that would be wonderful.
Hello, I have a question. This is Vicki Martin again. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, Vicki.
Hi. Okay, here's my question. I'm retired law enforcement, so I kind of knew some steps to take, but I had a doctor appointment in the past, and the person asked for, I was pre-registered. The person asked for my social security number. Well, my first reaction was, well, no, I don't need to do that. I'm pre-registered. And they're like, no, yes, ma'am, we do need it though. We needed to see. I said, well, can you at least use the last 4 digits? And they said, no, we have to have the whole number. I said, there's no other way we can do this. And they were like, no. So I provided it. You know, and you have flags, you know, I mean, just your instincts. So anyways, sometime later I had credit monitoring, and there was an account opened in my name. Now, the person used their apartment address, if it was in fact a real apartment. It could have been a shadow apartment. But my question to you today, in sharing that embarrassing moment, is what is the statute of limitation? Because on my credit report, that apartment is still listed as the place where they received whatever it is that they ordered. So is there a statute for me going after the person?
Vicki, thank you for sharing that. And I don't think it's embarrassing. Look, we all go through this, and I think we need to talk about it, because the more we do talk about it, then the more folks are educated. So thank you, Vicki, for sharing that. Yes, there is a statute of limitation. Typically it's 7 years. How long ago did this happen?
It's beyond the 7 years.
Oh, it's.
I mean, I was able to clear the matter up, and I wrote letters. It was taken care of. I just did. There was nothing done to the person, I believe.
The first, and you're not the last. So if there's ever any issues like that, did you report it to the police? You worked with law enforcement, so I'm guessing you did.
Yes, it was reported, and I did the letter to the credit bureaus. I mean, we took action. It's just that we didn't I don't think we were able to get the person. And now that I've told the story out loud, I can almost picture the person because it was like 2 days after that doctor's appointment.
And it's the red flags that we ignore. And I understand, look, we've done it before, but I'm glad that you were able to share it with the folks here, because that way then they'll be aware for next time. Thank you, Vicki. I see we have a comment, Musetta. A few years ago, I had a vehicle which was totaled. The insurance paid it off and I didn't keep it. It was kept at the dealership. Thus, the license tags are being recorded through the toll road. Oh, yes, I've had cases like this. So it looks like someone's vehicle information was being used at the toll roads. I have this happen all the time where folks have their cars stolen, and the folks who steal their cars regularly go through the toll roads. So then they are responsible. The victim is responsible for the tolls. What you've got to do is record it with the police department. You've got to indicate that this is fraudulent. It hasn't been happening. That way, when you contact the toll roads, you can send them the copy of the police report. Listen, I've documented this. This is going on. I am not responsible for this. This needs to be stopped. And most of the time, they will refund your money. I have had instances of that happening many times. And I think the toll road's very understanding of that. But first thing y'all have got to do before it gets to us here at the district attorney's office is document it with your police department.
Ms. Foreman, do you have a question, further question? Would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yes. So thank you so much for answering that. And the toll authority has not been very helpful. And my question is, I haven't finished the research on it, but my question is, who actually is responsible when that car is totaled out? Because you're told to leave it there at the dealership, and the insurance and the dealership actually handles that. I've done that, in the past before, never had an issue with it. So my thoughts are that someone has taken those license plates either from the dealership, or if they took it to the junkyard, then that person may have sold that to someone. So are you supposed to go to DPS when something like that happens? The car is total, you no longer own it, and report that it's supposed to be out of commission? How do you stop this?
How long has this been going on, Ms. Foreman?
I just found out about it this year when I received a large bill, and I did send them, the toll authority, a letter from the insurance company with the date that this car was totaled out and everything was settled. And so that's been a few months. They were supposed to write me back, tell me that the account has been cleared. And I guess about last week sometime, I received another bill from the toll authority.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Unfortunately, the agencies don't always work together to communicate the information. Now, you probably will continue to receive the bills from the toll authority, but you need to keep documenting what you've done. So it's like you're doing the right thing. You've documented it with the police and letting them know. But in terms of with DPS, if you want to private message me your email, I can go ahead and find someone with DPS. I don't think there's anything online that you can call. I think if you call them and say, hey, this is an issue, they're going to maybe hang up on you. I don't know, because it's such a unique question. I will try to get that answer for you in email and you let know. I'm so sorry you have to deal with this. I know it's a big pain in the butt.
Hi, Miss Erica.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Aquanita Ernest. Thank you for your information today. I have a question for you. I've received phone calls from Reliant. It says Reliant on my phone, stating that a service person was on their way out to my home to disconnect my lights. And they told me, I said, well, how much do I owe? And they would tell me the only way that you can get your lights for them to stop coming out to you is to pay $495. right away for us. And I said, well, I don't have a credit card number. What can I do? I don't pay my phone, pay my bills online. What can I do? Well, we need you to go to Family Dollar. I see there's a Family Dollar near you, and get a prepaid card and put this information on it. They gave me their name. They gave me their code number. They gave me all this information. And I said, really? I said, okay. Then all of a sudden it hit me. This is a fraud. They wanted an extra $495 from me. So who do I turn that information to when I get it to stop this from happening?
Miss Ernest, I'm so glad you shared that. That's something that's very common with folks doing that. That's something you're gonna have to report to the police. Now it's not always going to be able to result in anything because they can use spoofed numbers, just like you said, it comes out to Reliant. We can document that it happened. I've had instances, and this has happened to me, where, and you guys, a lot of folks have Facebook. It looks like a friend of yours may message you and say, hey, how are things going? By the way, I'm kind of in a jam. Can you send me some gift cards? I'll pay you back. And that's kind of like what you've went through with Miss Ernest, but I'm so glad you were able to, the light to kind of click to realize something's going on. So your first step is going to be documenting it with the police department. You've got to share the experience with friends and family so that they are aware of it, so that we can prevent folks from dealing with this as well.
Okay, today I received one via text saying that I've been overcharged on my 2021 credit card of $610. We can refund you if you give me your credit card information.
Miss Ernest, I feel so bad for you. I'm so sorry.
You're a target. You're a target. They put you on a list.
Yes, I think so. Yes, my number, I mean, everything. This is ridiculous. And I said, okay. They even send me a website to send the money to.
Oh, don't click the link.
I don't.
Don't respond.
But I'm just trying my best. So how can I disconnect my phone from this? I knew I took a Sheriff Citizen Academy class, and they had where you could call your number in, email it in to them, and they could take you off that list. They could block these numbers from you.
And do you still have access to that phone number?
No.
I can help find it for you. Just if you send me your email, I'll send you an email.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. Thank you again for sharing, Miss Ernest. And it's just stuff that happens, and we just got to share it.
And you know what? A lot of times we get a lot of those scam phone calls, and it says scam. When you see that, you shouldn't answer it. Correct?
Correct. I don't answer it right away. I mean, I'm getting so many calls for warranties. I'm sure all of y'all are as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
any other questions?
So specifically seniors, if you see something and it doesn't smell right, it doesn't look right, then it's probably 99% not right. So just be careful. And if you ever get a call that something happened to Nia and I, and they're asking you for $1 million, just tell them, nah, we'll let Nia and Myra go. It's not true.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
I wanted to give another example that actually happened to my dad. Again, he got a phone call. So my parents are from Laredo, Texas, which is a small town near the border. They've got a call that was in Spanish saying, hey, cousin, how are you doing? How's it going? And so my dad, a little bit older, kind of said, oh, hey, how's it going? Thinking that maybe it's a cousin he forgot. And then the guy started saying, oh, well, we were just wondering, can you send us some money? And I think that's when my dad clicked of, wait, what's going on? So the conversation went on for quite a while. That's also another thing, that a long lost family member who's calling you. That's something that they trick us with. Just be careful.
Ms. Foreman, you got another question?
Yes, I guess more of a question comment. So this is another issue that I don't think that all the authority entities are working together on it. So and it's targeted towards seniors more so, but I think anybody can be a victim of it. And it's when a person goes into a facility for a certain amount of time, or they end up in the hospital for a certain amount of time, their homes are targeted for mail. Basically, what the person is doing is having things sent to that address, and they are tracking it in someone else's name. And so they know the person is not there at home anymore. So then they're going and picking that article or articles up. In one particular case, it got so bad where the person had rented a car, and there was a private investigator trying to locate the car and was leaving notes at that particular home to try to find out where the car was. So I know years and years and years ago, they used to post the addresses in the newspapers when people had passed, so that you could bring stuff to the house, and they no longer do that. But the same concept of the person that is doing the bad deed, it still resides there, especially like when you have home health entities coming out to the home. It's almost like a big target on that house because it's being watched, and if you stop having those health officials that are coming in, it's going to be assumed that they're in the hospital. If they're up in age, more than likely they're going to be in there for a few weeks, or the same thing for a facility. So then it's marked, and no one's able to say, what is the best thing to do. Postmaster said to take the mailbox down. Well, if you have a mailbox that's on the street, you're going to go out there and just take the whole pole down, or, it's just absurd. So that's kind of my comment on that. If no one else has run into that, and it's quite common. It is quite common.
And you know what? When my husband and I were living in an apartment while we were building our home, we forgot to transfer our address, and a lot of our mail was still going to that apartment and to that mailbox for that apartment. And whoever moved in, got a lot of our personal mail. That's another thing that you need to watch out for, is make sure you transfer your address or have your mail held. If you go on vacation, make sure someone holds your the post office. They will hold your mail until you come back. So just watch out for your mail also.
Yes, and
Well,
Ms. Foreman, I'm sorry, go ahead.
When I moved, I actually, as far as the mail goes, you could sign up when you do your transfer that you can get pictures to receive notices of what mail is coming in. So I automatically get an email to know what mail is supposed to come in. So when I go to my mailbox and that mail is not there, then I'll know somewhere between the post office and my mailbox, somebody took that mail out of my box.
And where do you go to fill that out, Nia?
At the post office. I did it online at the post office.
Okay.
And I did want to say, Ms. Foreman, that is something I feel like you've had a lot of experience with fraud. You've seen it. We do have cases where folks that are fences, and the fences is kind of an in-between, will go ahead and send stolen items to abandoned houses. So they're finding these houses just on Google Street View. They can see that it's an older house or it looks empty. And they will, I have one case where the person used stolen identifying information to purchase cell phones. Then they have those cell phones delivered to those abandoned houses, or where folks are in the hospital. And then they hire folks to go pick it up. So there's someone different picking it up every time. So if you're seeing stuff like that, it's important to document that as well with the police. Say, look, I don't know what's going on, but it seems like there's some sort of stolen items being delivered here and there's no one here. That is, oh my gosh, Ms. Foreman, wow.
Yeah. You're doing so wonderful. I'm learning a lot. And that's the funniest thing. We're learning so much from you all. It's just interesting. So thank you so much. Are there any other questions?
I just want to make a comment also about our seniors being so vulnerable and so susceptible to getting scammed and things like that, that we need to make sure that we kind of keep track and communicate and find out, like, you know, who they're talking to, or you know, what mail is coming into their homes before a senior does get scammed. You know, pay attention to what they're doing when they go to withdraw large sums of money out of their bank accounts and things like that. And they're thinking that they're helping somebody, or thinking that they're sending money to a family member. You know, just kind of keep track and be aware, and make them aware of what's out there and what's going on, because they don't know sometimes, you know, and can become victims really fast. And then really quick, with me being in the real estate industry, I do a lot of workshops and stuff, meetings, and we did one workshop where we had a prosecutor from another state that said that there was a scam going around for seniors that are living in nursing facilities. It was a ring going on with the person that worked in the nursing home and someone that worked at the title company. This person would come in and act as a volunteer to watch the seniors, to see who had relatives coming in to visit them and who didn't. So the ones that did not, they ended up duping and, you know, doing the research and finding out which seniors actually had properties, and got them to turn their properties over by signing these documents, because they had no clue as to what they were signing, and had the person at the title company switching titles over, and they had no idea, all because these seniors were in these nursing care facilities or whatever, and had no relatives to come in to see them. So just be careful and protect our seniors, you know, by any means that we can.
And exactly, you know, one of the things that you always want to do, if you know there's a senior that lives next to you, please keep an eye on them, check on them. You know, I know a lot of people nowadays is that, well, I don't want to get involved. But when it comes to seniors, you should get involved. You should talk to them, bring them some cookies, coffee, you know, something, so they can feel comfortable with you. You know, and if you see a senior's yard that needs to be cut it for them. You know, that's what we're there for. You know, something that we always say is we don't live in this world by ourselves. So it's our job to make sure we protect our seniors. And if you see something funky going on, or you see someone that just, well, look, I have not seen them, you know, there before, check on them, call them, you know, and just make sure they're okay. You know, and keep talking to them, and a lot of things can happen in this world. Just make sure, you know.
I'm not sure who it was, or who had the issue with the license plate. Was that Miss Vicky that had the issue with the license plate, or the toll road thing, what have you? Just know that whenever you do a person-to-person, you know, like a private sale, or turning in your car to a dealership to trade it in or whatever, always take your license plate off. They can do absolutely nothing with your license plate. So remove your license plate from that vehicle at all times. And there's a form that you can fill out with the, I think it's TxDOT, or where do you go? No, where you go to get your vehicle registration and all that stuff from. There's a form that, yeah, there's a form that you can fill out that says, I now no longer own this vehicle. I gave this vehicle to whomever, or I sold it to whoever it's supposed to go to, so that they'll know it's been transferred already. Because sometimes when you sell a car, you give the title, the new owner doesn't always transfer the title out of your name. So you that way protect yourself, and you let them know, hey, I already relinquished this ownership to whomever on this date. Get that form filled out and get it submitted.
Ms. Ramirez, how do you feel? You did such a great job. Is there any other suggestions you have for the seniors?
I mean, I think you guys are really hitting the nail on the head. We've got to look out for each other. We're stronger together. If your neighbor needs help, like you said, cut their grass. We don't want anyone to stand out to appear that they're easy targets. So just help each other. And then again, tell your friends and family members about what happened. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. We just all learn, that's all.
And you know what? I just learned something from Nia. So one of the things, if you sell a car, make sure you go to the county clerks and fill out the form to let them know that you no longer own that vehicle, as well as remove the plate from the car. I did not know that. So I've learned two things today. And I know many of y'all have too, probably more than two. So pass on that information because this is great information. Thank you so much.
And I say too, Miss Myra, that I've learned with my godparents for me to go with them to check their accounts because their grandson was writing checks every day on them.
Hmm.
And the clerks at the bank did not say anything because they had saw their grandson with them at the bank before. And he was fraudulently signing his grandfather's name. $17,000 was taken.
Exactly. Oh my
Wow.
God. And that happens quite a bit. And the problem is a lot of the grandparents that will know, I want to leave it alone. I don't want to get him in trouble. You know, that's okay. But you know, you need to keep an eye. Just watch out. Just keep an eye on things and let them know you're there.
True, so true.
Thank you, Ms. Ernest.
You're welcome.
I have one quick question, and it may have to be handled in a spinoff from this workshop. But when you have properties, there's a big deal, not so much in Texas, but people are able to sell your property without your permission. So maybe we can have a spinoff on how to, is there something we can get on a list or whatever,
Yeah.
almost like a two-step or something where someone actually has to get in touch with us to say, are you trying to sell your property? Because the mechanisms that are in place apparently are failing, or people are being crafty enough to get around them.
Nia, you had said something about that a couple of meetings, virtual meetings before.
When
about how to
I had
protect
when we have the clearing title, the inherited property workshops, that's one of the questions that I asked of Harris County tax assessor collector's office about when people are, you see these things on Facebook about how you buy these properties and how easy it is. And it's feeling like you can just go and pay somebody's taxes and all of a sudden that means you change ownership, or having someone file a quick claim deed and things like that. And it's really, in Texas, it's really not as easy as people think that it is to do that. But that is definitely something that we can think about in providing more information about how to make sure that folks don't fall victim to quick claim deeds. One thing I will say too, as a realtor, whenever you want to buy or sell property, never do anything with property that does not go through a title company. If anybody wants to ever try to sell you property that don't want to go through a title company, do not do it, because 9 times out of 10, they are not even the legal owners that are even allowing you to sell the property. The title company is the one that does all of that research to determine if someone actually has, rightful heirs, or if they are actual owners of the property before they can buy or sell.
Hey, Miss Nia, Miss Grace Hong, could you get unmute yourself and explain what you were educating us on chat? Miss Grace?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Actually, I just overheard Nia talking about find the form to notify the tax DMV about car being sold, about the ownership transfer. So they want for the victim of the forgeries, and so I just happened, I just got on the line and found this website about how to text DMV notify DMV to let them know that you are no longer own the car, and so they can they can put a notice on it, something like that. I would just got it from online.
Thank you.
I'm on the Texas Department of Public Safety website too. I'm looking up that form because I think
not public safety. It's DMV. Department of Motor Vehicle.
Department of Motor Vehicle.
Thank you, Ms. Hong. That was awesome. And this is what it's all about. One of us gets asked the question. A couple of us are looking on the internet.
We're jumping on it.
The answer.
Yeah, I happen to know because I work for a tax office and an auto division before. So, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna mute myself.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Nia, is there anything else that you would like to say before we tell everybody goodbye?
No, I was trying to find this form. I can stick it in the chat real quick, but I cannot find it that fast. But Miss, I think it was Miss Ernest that asked for a copy of what form? Oh, Miss Foreman. Miss Foreman, when I find out what form it is, I will. Oh, no, Miss Grace did put it. I'll tell you what, when we send out the link for this recording of this meeting, I'll include that link to the website, to the DMV website, where you can go to fill out this form to make sure that you transfer ownership.
That's
Thank
what I
you,
was
Ms.
looking
Hall.
for also. I'm about to sell a vehicle and I want to make sure everything was clear. And I did know to take off my license plates from the
Oh, Ms.
vehicle.
Ernest,
Yes,
you knew that
yes.
and I didn't. Thank you so much. And Ms. Hong, thank you for the information. And Ms. Ernest, Ms. Martin, Ms. Where are you at? I'm looking, Ms. Foreman, you guys are just continuously going above and beyond and asking just wonderful questions, because you know what? A lot of us don't know the information and we're getting educated, and this is what it's all about. Ms. Ramirez, is there something else that you would like to say before we say goodbye to everyone?
No, I just want to thank y'all so much for contributing and opening up about what happened. And I really appreciate it. And I hope y'all have a lovely week.
We're so grateful to you, and we're grateful to everyone else. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to work with us and educate us even further. Ms. Nia, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Nope. Tomorrow we are having our evictions workshop. We know that folks are still experiencing some financial hardship because of COVID and what have you. So if you still find yourself in need of some type of financial assistance or want to know what your options are as a renter, definitely join us for that workshop tomorrow. And options for homeowners that are facing foreclosure. We're having the foreclosure workshop on Thursday. So definitely join us for both of those this week. So.
And we're
that
so
will be it
grateful
for
to
the
the
week.
District Attorney's Office for allowing us to bother you for just a little while. So thanks, everyone.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, just ask that everybody take a couple of minutes after this workshop to fill out our survey evaluations. You'll see the link as soon as you end the meeting. Just give us your feedback, or drop us a couple of lines or comments about any other workshops that you guys would like to have. On behalf of Month of Service, Ms. Ramirez, thank you very much again for your time. Ms. Myra Hippolyte, of course, it goes without saying, thank you very much this afternoon. And for all of our participants for joining us, you guys stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you again at our future Month of Service workshops. So you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all.
All right, bye-bye.